Are y'all still warming up? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before our school board meeting begins this evening at 6:15, we're going to be treated to our student showcase featuring the South Belton Middle School Saxophone Ensemble.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening and for your interest in Belton ISD. I hope you've enjoyed our student showcase tonight by the South Belton Middle School Saxophone Ensemble. Let's give them a round of applause. The time is now 6:16 p.m. and the Belton Independent School District Board of Trustees are now convened in a regular board meeting on Monday, March 25th, 2024, in the Pittenger Fine Arts Center located at 400 North Wall, Belton, Texas. A quorum of board members is present. Please note for the record that Ms. Bass is not here today. She had to attend to a personal matter. This meeting has been duly called, and notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. I want to welcome the members of our audience and our live stream viewers to this meeting. As the Belton ISD Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This meeting of the Board of Trustees held in public. It is not a public meeting. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items may not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. This meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. These proceedings are being live streamed on BISD's YouTube channel, and a recording of the meeting will be available on the district's website in the days following tonight's meeting. For the video to adequately reflect the proceedings, I ask that you respectfully refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are turned off or in the silent mode. Please rise for a moment of silent prayer or meditation. Please remain standing as our students from Southwest Elementary School lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and honors to the Texas flag.
If I could have Maya and Litzy and Angel up here. First, leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we have Maya and Litzy. We're going to speak into this microphone right here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Recognitions is the first item on the agenda. We'll turn it over to our communications team to start us off.
Thank you. To our honorees this evening, y'all are going to be called up in groups. You're going to have your photo taken with the Board of Trustees. Try to stay between the blue pieces of tape on the floor. When you're done, please go back to your seats, and then we ask that you stay here until you're dismissed by the board president, until we've concluded all of our recognitions. So our first recognition this evening are our student pledgers. We have, they're all three from Southwest Elementary. Maya here enjoys reading, talking to friends, and playing games. She's known for being a kind and honest person and is considered to be a good friend to everyone. And Litzy loves math. She's on the safety patrol, and in her free time, she loves to play with her dog, and her friends say she's kind and beautiful. You guys can go over there to the board. And then finally, Angel's favorite subjects in school are math and science. You can go over there. And at home, he enjoys playing with his sister, and is known for being smart, funny, and interesting. Thank you all for being here tonight. Okay, our next showcase this evening was the extremely talented South Belton Middle School Saxophone Ensemble. If you guys can stand and please come over here and have a photo with the board. They are under the direction of Evan Simmons. They recently competed in the UIL concert and sight reading competition and came home with the sweepstakes award. So congratulations, guys. Thank you so much. Our next recognition this evening is Belton ISD made history. We had 42 students represent the district at the Heart of Texas Regional History Fair. So first we're going to take a picture with our elementary students. If y'all could come up here. They even have matching swag. I love that. Congratulations, guys. We had students from all 3 levels compete at this, elementary, middle, and high. Okay. We good? We got it? Okay, good job. Now we have our middle school students. And I want to tell you a little bit about this competition. Students have to develop a historical argument and then have research to back it up, and then they have to present their findings through either a documentary, a website, a performance exhibit, or a research paper. So they're headed to state, and depending on how they do at state, they have the opportunity to go to nationals. So we're very proud of them. Make sure y'all can see the camera. If you can't see the camera, he can't see you. All right. Great job, guys. All righty. And now we have our high schoolers. So these guys are they're here tonight with Social Studies Coordinator for Belton ISD, Mr. Chris Limley. So we appreciate all of his support making such a big showing at this event. There we go. Congratulations. Our next recognition, I'm extremely proud to say that Lake Belton High School is home to the grand champion Silver Spurs. They competed at the Crowd Pleasers State Dance Competition and beat out every other team. So congratulations. This is a huge group. We're probably going to have some people on a second row or third row. The Silver Spurs are under the direction of Aaron Choates, and we're incredibly proud of them. Congratulations, y'all. Let's give them another round of applause. Thank you. Our next recognition, we're very proud to have with us tonight 4 Belton ISD students that qualified for the state cross-examination debate competition. We have 2 from Belton High School, Stephen Arantes and Reagan Vergara, and 2 from Lake Belton High School, Phoenix Carlisle and Shareya Mooney. Their teacher coaches from Belton High School, Tanya Larson, and from Lake Belton High School, Hannah Bryant and Brianna Rodriguez. Congratulations, guys. We're excited to have with us tonight Belton High School's Lena Cook. She's being celebrated for qualifying for the State Citizen B, where they are quizzing her on history and civics knowledge. Her teacher coach is also Tanya Larson. Next, our Temple Rotary Educator of the Month is from Leon Heights. It's the music teacher, Miss Deborah Johnson. She has been in education for 27 years, and 26 of those have been at Leon Heights. She's done a wonderful job there. Okay, this next one is very exciting, and we are celebrating the athletics ground team that consists of Andrew Linkletter, John Goff, David Wilson, James Glenn, and Patrick Crosby, because the Wilson Kersey Field was recently named the 2023 Field of Excellence. It is one of 100 in the nation. I think we have a picture up on the screen. There we go. We absolutely have world-class employees here in Belton ISD. Thank you guys so much. Go have a seat. For our department showcase this evening, it's my pleasure to recognize our business services team. They are led by our fantastic CFO, Miss Melissa Lafferty. This department absolutely keeps Belton ISD running. They make sure it's a rowdy group. All right. Make sure you can see Marty. This team makes sure payroll is paid, purchase orders are processed, bids are solicited, work orders are filled, food and custodial supplies are delivered. They make sure we have all the supplies we need in our departments and our campuses. We are very proud of them and thank them for all that they do. Good job, guys. And next, for our community partner recognition, Belton ISD, with approximately 30% of our students have a connection to the military, which really speaks to how important it is that we have a relationship with the leadership at Fort Cavazos. So I am very honored tonight to introduce the Garrison Commander, Colonel Lakecia Stokes. She's going to say a few words and then have her photo taken.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for having me here tonight. On behalf of Team Cavazos, thank you for the recognition. We value our relationship with Belton and the surrounding communities. We strive to strengthen our partnerships through our Adopt a School program and also our youth transition programs with Belton ISD. We look forward to continuing that strong partnership and increasing military support for our families. Once again, thank you.
Duet? Did you want me up there? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just real quickly, tonight's an amazing example of the great things happening across Belton ISD. I'm super proud that we celebrated our students in areas of their passion around extracurricular activities, as well as academics, as well as the amazing adults that make this happen. And so if you would join me one more time in celebrating everyone recognized here this evening.
Now that recognitions have concluded, we will take a short break to allow families and students to clear the auditorium. Please feel free to stay for the remainder of the meeting if you'd like. Next on the agenda are public comments. In accordance with policy BED local, we will take public comments regarding items on the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, and comments regarding non-agenda items will be heard at the end of the meeting to allow the board to conduct its business. Becca, do we have anyone signed up? None. All right. So let's move on to item 4 on the agenda. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding certification of unopposed candidate and order of cancellation for the Area 2 for the May 4, 2024 trustee election. Dr. Golan?
Yes, Board, on February 15th, you had a special board meeting in which we called for the election. This item, we have 2 pieces to it. One is the certification of an unopposed candidate, Erin Bass, representing Area 2. So she is unopposed. And so the second piece of this is the order of cancellation. It states that unopposed candidates are elected to office according to the Texas Education Code. And so we're asking for your approval of the certification of unopposed candidate and order of cancellation of Area 2 election.
Questions? All right. Do we have a motion to approve certification of unopposed candidate and the order of cancellation for Area 2 for the May 4, 2024 trustee election as presented? Mr. Floor, do we have a second? Ms. Lee? All in favor, raise your hand. That passes 6-0. Now we go on to item 4B. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding budget assumptions for fiscal year 2024-2025. Dr. Golan?
So Melissa Lafferty, our CFO, is coming to the podium. We know that we spent an hour in workshop prior to this meeting discussing budget. She's here this evening to talk about budget assumptions for your consideration as we go into planning for the 24-25 budget.
To you our budget assumptions. And so we're going to ask for your approval of those assumptions that we spoke to in more detail in our budget workshop. And as you can see there, these are going to be our preliminary assumptions that we're going to use as we begin planning for next year's budget. And of course, as you well know, these assumptions are subject to change. Thank you. Are subject to change as we get further into our budget process. So with your approval, we will start with these assumptions and begin that planning process.
So y'all have questions?
Questions?
Questions for Melissa?
Just a statement. Thank you for the work that goes into this. I know that this is really, this is hard work, and you guys do a really good job, and you're super careful, and we appreciate that. On behalf of our board, we really want you to know that we trust you, and we appreciate the detailed work that goes into all of this.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I know some of you guys are on the budget committee, so some of this, you've already been through. And of course, we just went through in a workshop. But Melissa, the things that we were talking about earlier, most of that is a byproduct of what the legislature did or perhaps didn't do this past session, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. One of those would be the SHARs and what happened there with Medicaid, right?
Yes,
The
sir.
second thing was the homestead exemption, right?
Yes, sir.
And the implications from that.
applications,
Now,
to
was
number
there a
65.
third item, or those that made the two major ones?
Those were the primary factors affecting our current year budget, yes. The
And not
reduction
just
of
that,
funding.
and just the fact that the legislature refused to raise the basic allotment and provide any funding for schools this year.
Yeah, so the state will, they did provide funding for school finance, but it was to compensate for that increase in that homestead exemption. But for us, on a per-student basis, we will not see the benefits of that increase in funding.
Right, and that basic allotment hasn't increased in many years to include the unprecedented
The state's pretty
inflation.
conservative on when they increased that basic allotment. And the last time it increased was House Bill 3 back in 2019.
Right. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it's not something that this board did or that this district did as a whole in terms of managing its budget. It's something that I mean, we haven't done anything out of the ordinary.
That is correct. All districts across the state everybody's in the same situation that we are, and everyone's looking at budget reductions and how to get through this next biennium.
Okay. All right, anyone else have any questions or comments? No? All right.
We're going to ask for you to approve those assumptions.
Okay, this is an action item, and so I believe the action we're requesting this evening is for y'all to discuss, consider, and take action on the proposed 24-25 budget assumptions as presented.
Right. Do you have a motion? Okay. Mr. Norwood, do you have a second? Mr. Preston? All those in favor? Passes 6-0. All right, that concludes our action items this evening. Next on the agenda, reports. Dr. Golan?
Yes, Jim Bailey is going to come up to the podium. So this first presentation is an update on our key progress measure associated with Goal 1, as well as some additional actions we've been taking in support of our Parents as Partners initiatives.
That's right. Thank you for your attention tonight, trustees. The purpose of my presentation is to give y'all a highlight on some of the work that we've been doing towards Goal 1, which is to strengthen and support the engagement of all stakeholders in pursuit of the Belton ISD vision. This has been a very busy year for us. As you know, we've had 5 major construction kickoffs. We celebrated the opening of Burrell Elementary. We've seen increased engagement on our social media and websites. We've been very busy. Our key progress measure for Goal 1 is that Belton ISD will have customer service standards, what we're calling locally mantras, and a system of measurement by December 2023, and provide aligned professional learning by May of 2024. So all last fall, we have had a cross-departmental task force working towards this KPM. It started in July. We worked with our principals and our district leaders, and we imagined the very worst customer service experiences that we've all had at some place or another, and really tried to drive down to what's the root cause of somebody being rude or your pizza showing up cold or whatever it is. And then later in the fall, we sent out a thought exchange to our parent stakeholders and asked them what they value most in their customer service experience. We combined all of that data and looked for commonalities. And then we went through some exercises with our parent stakeholders, our PTA representatives, our district leaders again. And we developed these 3 mantras, and they are: service equals success, connect with care, and elevate every experience. And those 3 mantras are centered around expressing empathy, high-quality communication, and going the extra mile. And so our cross-functional departmental team took those mantras and developed a pretty robust training, a customer service training that's aligned to these mantras. And we kicked off our customer service training this semester in February. And so far, we've trained 500 of our 2,100 staff members. This is not a one and done. We know that we're going to have to go over this and go over this and go over this and really dive down to what this means, but we've got a good start going. This cross-departmental team also developed a measurement tool, which we have yet to roll out, but we have it. We're still discussing the best way to put this out, but we really want to collect feedback from our stakeholders and assess how well our customer service training is going. We want to see where we may need to make modifications and stuff, but we've done a lot of work on this KPM. So next I want to turn your attention to some statistics regarding our volunteers. Over the last year, we listened to our volunteer stakeholders and what could be some barriers to volunteering in the system. And one of the things that came out loud and clear from our PTA, PTO representatives was that it was cumbersome to apply to volunteer in Belton ISD. In fact, you had to go to the employment page and go like through the process of applying for a job to volunteer. And so we streamlined that process. We have a new volunteer management system, and it gives people results on their background checks within hours as opposed to days. It allows people to select how they want to volunteer. It's pretty robust, and we're still training our principals on how to use it, but we feel like there's a lot of capability with our volunteers with this system. We've also increased opportunities for parent involvement. As we've talked about the last couple of years, our Watchdogs programs, we've had Principal for a Day, which has been pretty popular with our community. We have literacy partners, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And so we are on track to surpass the number of approved volunteers that we had last year. In December of 2022, we had just under 1,000 approved volunteers. And in December of 2023, so 1 year later, we had 1,000 more than we had the year before. So I feel like we're on track, and we've got 8 weeks of school left with lots of field trips and exciting things coming. So moving on to Literacy Partners, this is very exciting. As you know, this is our inaugural year of this incredible volunteer opportunity. I'm very proud to say that we have just under 200 students being served by volunteers through the Literacy Partners program. We have 6 local faith-based organizations that have adopted our elementary schools, and they're coordinating our volunteers and getting volunteers into the schools. But I want to say every Belton ISD elementary school has Literacy Partner volunteers in them, some more than others, but even though we only have 6 faith-based, we've got volunteers working at every single campus. And that means that our students are receiving just under 3,000 extra minutes of reading every week. And that's something to applaud. That is really exciting. So I'm excited to see where this program is going to go. I also wanted to update you. This time last year, we were just launching something events called Parents as Partners. We had our Parents as Partner conference last year. Attendance wasn't what we hoped. We tried to do it again this year, tweak some things. Again, attendance wasn't quite what we hoped, but we've had 11 events to date under the umbrella of Parents as Partners, because we want our community to hear that loud and clear. Parents are partners in Belton ISD. And as of today, we have engaged 350 parents through these events, and we hope this will grow. We're continually looking for ways to improve it and grow, but I'm encouraged by the progress that we've made over the last year. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, just a couple comments as we go through. The customer service work that we're doing is oh so important, right? I mean, we know that, there's nothing more frustrating than trying to handle a negative situation, right, than to run into a bad customer service experience. And what do you think the likelihood is that it's going to be resolved at the lowest level, right,
Yeah.
when you run into an experience like that? And so, like I said, the work that we're doing there is just so important to make sure that we can get to the resolution of whatever it is, right, as effectively and efficiently and as in a positive manner as possible. I really applaud sort of the work that we're doing here. I know it's a work in progress. I know it's both internally facing and externally facing, right? It's important all the way around. And so thank you for the work that we're doing there. On the volunteer side, whether that's the literacy partners, whether it's the, the other volunteer work that we're doing, I mean, we know that getting parents involved in our schools and volunteers involved in our schools means our children succeed better, right? And you talked about the 3,000 extra minutes of reading, right? Like that makes a difference. Mm-hmm. And so it's really important, my heart feels good when I see that volunteer number climbing,
Yep.
right? I mean, that's really important. And then lastly is the parents as partners. I was going to save this for a little bit later, but we may as well talk about it now since you were since you mentioned it. I did attend the Parents as Partners conference, the larger conference, right? And and I have for the last 2 years, and I'm always amazed by the topics. I felt, I went as a parent. I got 3 kids of my own, right, in the district, and so I went wearing dad hat. And, I went to a listening session related to teaching and learning, right, to really hear about, what's going well, what's not going so well, how can we reach, your particular child. And there were a bunch of parents in the room, who, really had a great open conversation, shared experiences across campuses and across the district. It was just a great back and forth, open conversation with teaching and learning, right? I mean, we need more like that, right? That interaction is really important, that feedback loop. I went to a session on artificial intelligence in schools. So shout out to the tech guys back there. I'm in the IT space, and I always learn something new when I go to one of those, right? And so that was a really good sort of conversation around what are we doing to intentionally bring artificial intelligence into the school district, right? You have to be intentional about it. Otherwise, it's going to be a complete mess. And it was a great presentation. I left that presentation feeling really good that we've got some great intentionality around how we're doing that and how we're equipping our teachers to potentially, leverage that in the classrooms. I also went to a terrifying presentation on fentanyl and fentanyl awareness. As a parent, I'm getting hot even thinking about it right now, right? I mean, it was an absolutely terrifying presentation about the reality of, the fentanyl crisis within the U.S. and sort of what the situation is in Central Texas. And so for me as a parent, that conference was absolutely amazing, right? I know, attendance, we would have liked to see more parents there, but the parents there were absolutely engaged in what was going on. And the parents that show up to the individual sort of one-off nights, I know we got another one coming up. Anybody that I've talked to comes away with an amazing sort of experience and story about what they picked up. And so it's absolutely making a difference no matter how many people show up. We get one that shows up and it's great. So thank you for what we're doing there.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, just a couple things real quickly on our mantras. We know that parents have choice. They have choice in transfers between schools. They have choice in other districts. They have choice in other educational modes and methods. And so those mantras are very important to us, that we really work on our customer service. And I love that Chris talked about internal as well. We know that in order to keep and retain staff and support them, that internal customer service is so important. And then just the final thing, while we're excited, we've had 11 events and 350 parents. We know that we need that number to be 10 times that, if not more. And so we're continuing to ask for feedback on topics, as well as things like scheduling logistics, not scheduling them on nights where we have, or days where we have lots of other events.
Yeah.
So we're working on that and know we have areas to improve, but we're really proud of the things that we've put on so far.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on to item 5B, academic
Thanks, Jim.
progress report. Dr. Golden?
Okay, Gabby Nino and I believe Ben and Denise will be sharing some information with you. We've been doing our academic progress reports in most board meetings throughout this school year. So they are going to talk about some of the actions we're taking around principal leadership, teacher investment, and student, as well as give you some up-to-date data we've received in terms of some of our interim reports that have come in.
Thank you. Good evening. Mr. Alcozar on board. Just to address mine and Ben and Denise's partnership, we made a decision to streamline our communication this evening, and I'm going to present on behalf of the team of us, and all of us are able to answer any questions that we have. As you know, we've been reporting throughout the school year on our progress academically, and I'm going to continue that conversation this evening to share some data that shows our progress, as well as response plans that we have in place. I do want to take a slightly different approach this evening and explain to you some of the biggest investments we've made based on our journey this school year and where we begin. If you recall, in the summer, we identified a need to increase the percentage of students who are performing at the meets and masters level on not only our state assessments, but in our internal measures as well. Those performance levels tell us that students are mastering the learning standards associated with their grade level. So that's been a clear focus for us. And one of the biggest ways that we've made an investment this year is alongside teachers with the support of our campuses. You've heard me refer to our instructional design days, and I want to tell you a little bit more about what that is, and then show you how we are seeing evidence within the data that we believe is directly correlated to this investment. Our instructional design days have the same purpose every time we come together, regardless of what the grade level is, regardless of what the content area is. And that purpose is to provide curriculum-embedded professional learning for our staff, where we strengthen our understanding of our grade level standards. We have supported time for intentional planning of learning experiences, and we deepen our understanding of how we will assess for progress with those standards. Embedded within that time is also analysis of our student performance data so that we can plan strategic responses. During this school year, we have served the posted grade levels at the elementary level, including 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th in both math and English language arts. The reason 4th is bolded on this visualization is because within our student performance data, 4th grade was an area of concern for us in our data over time, not only last year measured by STAR, but also within our internal measures. And so we have 1 day per 9 weeks that all of our 4th grade teachers in both math and English language arts come and work alongside our curriculum coordinators on those bulleted areas that I discussed earlier. And again, it's the same intended outcomes regardless of what grade level or content is coming, but we've emphasized 4th grade as an area of need for us. In our secondary grade levels, you'll see that we've pulled 6th grade, English 1 and English 2. And then 7th grade and Algebra 1 have been areas of challenge for us. And so those grade levels are coming, they will have 4 opportunities to engage in instructional design days throughout the school year, 1 per 9 weeks. Again, always digging into what our learning standards are. That is consistent across our learning sessions. They are always looking at assessment data and the resources that we have and having the opportunity to plan challenging and engaging experiences for our students. So I wanted to start there today, a little different than we have, and just say, here's how we've been investing in these target areas. And now let's take a look at what the data tells us. The last time we were together, we only had our mid-year internal screenings, and we were anticipating the results of our interim assessment. We administer the interim in the fall, and then again in February, we administer most of our interim assessments. And what you're going to see this time is an at-a-glance of all of our grade levels by subject. So you can see, beginning on the far left, our 3rd grade student outcomes, all the way progressive to English 2 on the far right. The color-coded bars that you see in black is our fall percent of students who are at the meets and masters level, and the red is our spring at the meets and masters levels of student performance. So what I want to draw your attention to is at every grade level in reading, we see growth between fall and spring interim. If you take a look at the 4th grade data, it's a flat line. So that is a continued target area of supported need for us where we are not seeing the growth to the magnitude that we are in other grade levels. We are proud of the growth that we're seeing at that meets and masters performance level because that's what we set out to do. I want to say very clearly, we've got work to do. We are going to continue to do work. But this look tells us where we really need to emphasize, and I'll talk to you about some examples at the 4th grade level of how we're doing that. In math, we also have our interim results back, and the pattern on the visualization is the same as previously. 3rd grade is far left, all the way to algebra on the far right. These are the only grade levels that we assess on interim. And what you can see again is that we have growth across grade levels on our math assessments as measured by interim. I will draw your attention to our 5th grade results. There's not as much of a change in growth at 5th grade. And 7th grade, while we see a greater degree of growth there, you can also note that the performance levels are significantly lower than other grade levels. So we will continue emphasizing growth there, as well as examining at the standard level what is contributing, what's the root cause of that performance. These visualizations are to show you beyond just one measure what we are seeing. And some of these you have seen this year, actually all of them that you have. This is the goal of this visualization is to report consolidated multiple measures. What I want you to take away from this visualization is from 21-22 to our current school year, 23-24, regardless of the assessment that we're taking. You've got in red, we've got our, I'm going to start with blue. We've got our fall interim. We've got our beginning and middle of year Star Renaissance, which you know is our internal universal screener, and now our spring interim results. Over the years, you can see on regardless of what measure it is, we are at a higher performance level of meets and masters than we have been historically. So again, want to highlight the growth that we're seeing, as well as articulate that we're going to continue growing. On the left, you're going to see 3rd through 5th grade English language arts at the elementary level, and on the right, you see 3rd through 5th grade math, and both illustrate similar trends. Exact same visualization for our middle schools. Again, we've got combined multiple measures here, including our fall, both interim and universal screeners from internal, and then far right would be our spring interim. And again, from 21-22 to our current performance in both English language arts at the middle school level and in math, we see growth and higher performance than we have historically seen. Now high school. High school has fewer data points. In English 1 and English 2, we are not taking Star Renaissance at our high schools at this time, and so we have our fall and spring results on interim. And you can see, again, this data shows us over time, years views from 21 all the way till 23-24. We see an increase in our percentage of students who are performing at meets and master's level, and then the same can be said for our Algebra 1 outcomes on interim. I want to discuss through the lens of a specific example how we are responding. All of our responses are grounded in best instructional practices. So I'm going to talk through a 4th grade example for you, just for clarity around 4th grade, but I want you to know that these responses are similar, if not the same, regardless of the grade level and content area, because we know what best practices are in high quality instruction and responses. So first and foremost, we want to maintain focus on what the early indicators is working. We had a heavy emphasis on critical thinking and really thinking through the lens of our priority standards that our team has identified. With our instructional content coordinator support, as soon as we get any data set in, we are having targeted responses based on that data. So 4th grade as an example, as soon as we get English language arts data on, our coordinator Hope jumps together with our instructional coaches and discusses what they're seeing in the data that comes in on that assessment. Because, as I shared with you, we are working closer with our 4th grade teachers this year based on data, they are able to make just-in-time adjustments to that instructional design day. Look at the upcoming curriculum and identify where we need to cycle back through learning. And they're also planning model learning experiences that will be walked through in our instructional design days. So if any individual standard is identified in that instructional design day, our teachers have different experiences on what high quality learning would look like and work through the design of those planning, the design of planning for those experiences. Then after that time, those lessons are put right into our curriculum, so teachers have learned around them, and then they are linked into our curriculum so that they have access to them back on campus. That was specific to English language arts, but I also want to add in the area of math. I'll give you an example. We have an instructional resource we've invested in this year called MathMart. So our coordinator with instructional coaches and teachers have examined that resource and identified specific lessons embedded in it for reteach and review of the standards that are showing a greater degree of difficulty for our students. So again, this was a 4th grade example, but this cycle is what we go through with any data point that we get across all content areas. we are seeing that we need to increase writing across the content areas. If you think write a lot, a little, every day. I shared with you this summer the shift in the assessment structure where there's constructed responses. And so we've added sentence stems to support writing in all of our content areas in our curriculum. And then again, we're going to continue working at the student level with data reporting, making sure that when we're making decisions and targeted plans, it's for each and every student based on what they need. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Comments, question, anyone?
Sixth through eighth grade, ELA, English language arts, the green bar there at the end that goes to 20% on the left side of that graph.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain that to me. What are we seeing there with that kind of drop?
So in sixth grade ELAR, on the far 23-24, or are you talking about on the far left 21-22?
The 21-22, far left.
So what you would see then is if you look at the far left, that's the fall interim, and it predicted our students' performance at one level. And then in the spring, their performance level on that interim was that much lower.
Right.
And that's not what you want to see.
Right.
You want to see growth, right? And so we're happy to show that in 23-24, that trend line is where you would want it to be.
Yeah, I guess what my question is are we doing studies behind why we would be dropping that much from beginning of year to end of year?
So I'll be really honest with you. Our team is doing root cause analysis on our current data, and we look at those trends over time. And so the one thing that I can tell you, I'm identifying with our team across content areas, is there wasn't specificity in the tools and resources that we had provided teachers to the degree that we wanted. And so looking back, not being as close to the curriculum at that point in time as I am now, my assumption would be that our plans were not as targeted and responses at that point in time.
I think we could also go, I mean, I don't know if it would be worth our time to do so. We could think about this too. I think if we went back and looked, the quantity of students taking assessments were quite a bit different that year in comparison to where we are now. We're testing more students now in 23-24 than we were that year. Is that right, Gabby?
Yes, so that's an absolutely, I didn't even consider that in my response. Yes, that would be a year that was pretty disruptive, and so our number of students testing. We've also really improved our internal practices around consistency and ensuring that we were testing every single student.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking it's possible that we got more students as the year progressed. And so there were lots of gaps in their learning leading up to, and then they showed up at the end of the year.
Yes, absolutely.
Chris?
All right, just bear with me. I'm going to walk through a couple of these, but I mean, I want to echo something you said just to kind of kick this thing off, right? We've got a lot of work to do, but I think there's a lot of great things happening, right? So when you take a look at, like, I'm back on, let's see, which, if I say slide 7, right, the reading interim, there's a lot of great things happening here, right? And so while we've got a lot of work to do, look at the gaps between the black bars and the red bars, right? Like, we are absolutely moving in the right direction, and a lot of the curriculum things that are going on seem to be making a difference, right? The fourth grade thing's kind of interesting to me. I got a fourth grader. But what I can tell you is he seems to be really accelerating from a reading standpoint. So something's clicking for him. So I'm not experiencing that one in my household, but that was kind of interesting to see that. On the math side, right, I'm looking at the next slide, and this one hurts my heart particularly. So I'm a math major, so this one's like really close to home. Like, refresh my memory, what is the seventh grade, what is the normal seventh grade math class? Like, what is the on-level math for seventh grade, what is that?
So that's exactly what it would be called, 7th grade on level.
Okay, so it's not Algebra 1 yet?
Not yet.
So that, okay.
Now, what does happen in 7th grade is that we have students who were taking advanced academics or advanced coursework in 6th grade, and there's a split at 7th grade. So the number of students tested is much smaller in 7th grade.
On that, though, I do have a question, because when my son did this, he still had to test with his own grade level. Do they not do that anymore?
So there are, if students are in our 7th grade advanced, they will take and Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong, because I might mess it up. It gets very confusing at that point. They will take if their standards are split, 7th and 8th grade, which is what our advanced students do in 7th, then they'll take the 8th grade assessment. Yeah. So our group is smaller.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's helpful. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right, right. Okay. And then I know I had a question I posed to you prior to the meeting about just some specific curriculum examples. I think you actually hit a bunch of them on the way through, so I'm not sure I need to even ask that question anymore, unless you want to provide another example, but.
Do you want to share with them what your question for me was?
Sure,
and I'm happy
sure.
to.
Let me find it exactly. What did I say here? You know, I asked if there were some specific curriculum changes or updates or approaches that we've made or are planning to make to really hit the areas that we're targeting for growth. And, you know, when we talked about this slide, you hit a couple and you talked about a couple others. And then I know, you know, the introduction of the phonics curriculum, right,
Yes.
which I've seen magic in the classroom as I've walked through some of those. I mean, that seems to be making all the difference in the world. So I don't know, are any other additions that, you know, you really want to brag on since you got the mic?
Yes, so I am proud of the phonics edition, yes. And I mentioned one called MathMark. The biggest thing is that we're being so intentional. So I can provide really high quality resources to teachers. We can link them in our documents. We can do all we want with some really high quality resources. If we're not being intentional about how to use them to support what standards, then it's just something on the shelf. And that is something I'm very proud of with our team, that we are not just providing a resource, that we are really embedding into curriculum, embedded professional learning, how to use those tools in alignment with standards that we've prioritized. And so one in particular is MathMark, but we've got several more based on subject that we are being very intentional in how we use those tools to support learning.
Thank you.
And if I could, just a thank you to Gabby, Ben, and Denise, but also to our campus principals and our teachers, our instructional staff, our curriculum department. I will tell you a significant change this year has been the alignment between professional learning for leaders, particularly in the area of instructional leadership, with the professional learning happening with our instructional coaches. And, you know, getting into classrooms and then looking for evidence of those best practices, coming back and reflecting on what we're seeing. Ben, Denise, and Gabby can, to the school and often to the classroom, tell me what's happening and the supports that are happening across the district. And so I'm just super proud of them and our principals for their hard work.
Thank you for that. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, moving on to item 5C, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Gola?
Yes, tonight I'm going to share some stories that I believe that, one, have happened over the last month. It's going to be a journey through the past month since we met in our last board meeting. But really, it's a journey through our vision. So I'm going to start really with our vision statement. So as we know, and you know, you adopted a vision to empower each and every learner to pursue their dreams and enrich their communities. So tonight I want to share a couple of stories really digging into the empowerment piece of it to pursue dreams and enriching their communities. So I'm going to jump to first in the empowering futures. I have a couple of examples, particularly in the part of our vision statement where we talk about each and every. And so if you look on the left side, I've got three pictures here. The first two are an example from our reverse job fair that we recently held with our Delta students. What's incredibly exciting about this event is these young men and women, again, served in our Delta program, that's our 18-plus program, prepared resumes. They prepared boards that really highlighted their unique skills, their unique passions, and they were able to articulate those and really practice interviewing skills that they then were able to use and will be able to use in actual job fairs as they're seeking employment. So it was a really amazing opportunity for them. We had community members coming in. I know board members were able to participate. And so when we talk about empowering their future, and particularly particularly for each and every. This is a great example, I think, of that vision coming to life that we keep striving for. The picture on the far right is an example from our Buckles and Beans, and I know you're familiar with our Buckles and Beans program. We have students at Lake Belton High School from our functional academics classrooms, life skills, but I'm not sure if you know, they have been going around this state presenting at conferences. They get up in front of massive rooms full of adults seeking to learn from them on how they can replicate some of these processes, these programs on their campuses across the state of Texas. So it's one thing to stand up in front of a couple of us. It's another thing to stand up in front of hundreds of educators really wanting to learn and replicate. So I'm super proud of them. And those are just a few examples of our teachers and our programs making that happen. Couple of stories on the second part of our vision statement that we strive for is the community enrichment piece. So the first two images you see on your left are examples of our students going in. Part of how we reach that vision is we give students, while they're in our schools, experiences to actually give back, to actually provide service. And so you see on the left side, students reading to some of our students at Sparta Elementary School. Awesome. And then you move into the middle, though, and you see a young man who has written a book. We challenge our children to write their own books, reading his own book to his class. So not only does that put his amazing work on display, but he's giving back and enriching the lives of the students he's reading to. And then the slide on the right was our very first unified track meet, and that was held this past week. And this is where we have students, our athletes. You see our young lady there. We're super excited. They are partnered with a partner, and that would be some of our athletes at our high schools. They both compete, their scores are combined, and then we celebrate them at the end. And so this is the first time we've stepped into this in Belton ISD, and super proud of Ben, our special education department, and most importantly, our students. You see the cheering in the background. Our students came out in droves to support our students, and this is a part of Special Olympics. Couple of things real quickly, just some additional stories from the last month. These are going to be tied to some of our values. We value continuous improvement. Gabby did a great job of showing while we are making improvements, we have great work still ahead of us. These images are examples from your top left where you see Chris Floor talking with some of our PTA presidents and PTO presidents, where we're seeking input on what can we do to grow our parents as partners, events and experiences. The far top right is a listening session I'm doing with elementary students where they're telling me what do they love about their school and what do we need to do to improve. And then your bottom slides, you see examples of our executive team poring over data. We are implementing better data routines, not just of gathering data, but studying that data for root causes. And then the far right, you see our principals doing the same as they start to think about improvement plans for next year. And then finally, we obviously value community engagement. We're super excited to have our community partnership recognition today. And you see in some of these pictures, our partners pour into us. You see in that bottom slide, I'm super excited. We have an Adopt a School program launched at New Tech. Very excited for that. You see the Merrick Smith Center for Teacher Preparation. We want to do nothing but grow that partnership. We were excited to celebrate with them, but we may have told them we want to be the pipeline to teachers from that program directly to Belton ISD. And then you see Molly Kate, one of our students in the middle. She actually was a speaker at that event, and we're incredibly proud of her. And in the far right side, we had our faith-based leaders meeting recently where they actually participated. Many of our ministers and pastors from across our community participated in doing a SWOT analysis with us in how can we grow those partnerships as we think forward into the 24-25 school year. So it's been a busy month, but super excited about the work of our teachers, our teams, and our students in really working to bring the vision you've adopted to life in our district.
Thank you, Dr. Golden. Very good report. Moving on to item 5D, board highlights. Anyone want to share anything that took place in the last month? Ms. McDonald?
So I'm going to preface this by just sharing with you something that my mother taught me a long time ago. She told me that it's never too late to say thank you. We've been busy. We've been very, very busy this particular year. So I'm just going to hit a couple of things that I just want to say thank you for and I want to comment on. In January, we were just really blessed and honored. They honored us, the staff and the students here at BISD honored us for School Board Appreciation Month. The culinary folks really provided some nice, tasty treats, and we had wonderful music. And we had just lots of artwork that was given to us. Typically, what I do with all of that in January is I sit down and I write a thank you to every campus. That was a little difficult to do this particular time, so I'm just going to use this particular opportunity to say thank you. One of the brain teasers that I received was this piece of artwork here. The inside was clear, it said painted, and then there would be a message revealed. I don't know what the message is. And so if anybody has done this and anybody knows the message, I'd love to know. I've looked at this often. I don't know what it says. The other thing I want to share with you that came out of January was we had a young person who wrote this note. It said, "Thank you, school board, for the 2-hour delay. I had 2 extra hours to myself to relax and the great teaching." And so there's a picture of snow and then a student in bed. So just really wanted to share that with you. In February, I had the opportunity to go to the job fair at South Belton Middle School. Very well done. The staff here are just, bar none, the best. I walked in like I was looking for a job. I learned all about benefits. I learned that had I truly wanted a job, I could have been interviewed if I qualified right there on the spot. So that was pretty amazing. I really like that. I had the opportunity to be a guest speaker for the Academic Award Excellence program that was put on in this very facility here. I really want to thank Ms. Winters for inviting me and for New Tech. They blessed me with a beautiful tumbler. I'd love to have brought it with me, but I didn't want you all to get jealous because it's purple and has my name and has the logo on it. The students actually put that information on the tumbler. Very cool item. And then Bex in March. I missed the first part of that because I was at a work event, but I did go later on and I was able to visit some of the classrooms. I was able to do a little FaceTime with my grandchildren about the solar system room that they had over there. There was a spaceship in one of the rooms, and our students built that spaceship and figured out a way, and Gabby she can tell you all about all that stuff, but they figured out a way to get into the doors of the classroom. Perhaps maybe all they really needed to do was remove the hinges, but they got it in there. And so I was talking to my grandchild, my 5-year-old grandchild, and trying to encourage him to talk to his mommy about moving from Austin to Belton to come to Bex, because I think that's super cool. And I also got to visit the safari room, which has a nice little Jeep in it. And it had a huge snake thing that I was a little leery about. But the cool thing about what happened before I got there was that the parents had the opportunity to experience what their child went through during their school day. I wish I had been there to see that. I bet that would have been a really cool experience. Before I left the building, I had a little one-on-one time with Mr. Pickles. Y'all seen Mr. Pickles? Have y'all had that experience? Mr. Pickles is the parrot that lives there. And Mr. Pickles and I had this conversation about, I wear weave and I don't need you to get too close, you know? So Mr. Pickles is kind of a cool parrot. And the last thing that I will say is that the PTA breakfast on March the 8th, that was a great opportunity for collaboration between all the PTAs throughout the various campuses. And for those that weren't there, I did a personal drive-by to those campuses just to have that conversation. So I know that was a little long-winded, but it's never too late to say thank you. So thank you for everyone involved.
Thank you, Suzanne. Anyone else? Chris?
Maybe I'll start where Suzanne left off with the PTA, PTO breakfast that we had. Man, there's some magic happening, right? And so when we talked a little bit about parents as partners earlier, you know, what we're starting to see at those PTA, PTO events is that they're working together across campuses to make a difference for all of our kids, right? Not just this one kid over here or this one school over here, but they're working together to make a difference across, which is absolutely the vision, right? This is the vision coming to life. And so that was just such an awesome experience. I've had the opportunity to go to 2 or 3 of those, and just the transformation from the first one to where we were was absolutely amazing to see. Also had the opportunity to drop in on a couple other parent events. I dropped in on a project celebration planning committee meeting where we had a group of parents and parents who also happen to be staff members, you know, working to plan, you know, what our seniors are going to do for Lake Belton High School after they graduate, and just rolling up their sleeves and getting it done. Senior dad right here, sorry. And that same night, I dropped in on the Lake Belton Stampede Booster Club meeting. And this is, you know, I'm going to talk about the Stampede Booster Club, but this goes for all of our booster clubs, right? This is the extra fairy dust, right, that we sprinkle on top of the programs, right, to really help them excel. And some great things that were happening there. For the first time, we had middle school parents at the high school, like the Lake Belton Stampede Booster Club meeting, for the first time ever that I've been going to the meetings. You know, and so the fact that we're able to kind of push that down through, right, because it's all vertically integrated, right? I mean, they absolutely represent the middle school kids for sure. But we had those folks there, and we also had a conversation around, hey, how can we accelerate that? And maybe one of the things that we might want to do is when we have an incoming freshman and their parents, maybe we buddy them up with, you know, an upperclassman, you know, parent and buddy, both from a student standpoint and from a parent standpoint, right? Real collaboration happening, right, in that whole vertical stack, right? Middle school, high school, some amazing things happening there. And so again, great opportunity to kind of see the vision come to life. Again, I had the opportunity to talk to the Lake Belton High School Academic Awards ceremony and really kind of talk about the connection between community and academic success. And that's such an awesome opportunity. My co-speaker over here, such an awesome opportunity to kind of do that. And so that's all on the parent side. On the teacher side, you know, one of the things that when we chose to move to this area, we visited lots of schools, lots of school districts, from Austin to Belton and beyond. And one of the things that we chose this location for was just the immense heart that we experienced from our students, or from our teachers on campuses, right? We absolutely felt it, landed here, it was a great place to be. We've had a pretty tough tragedy at one of our campuses just over the last week or so. And I'll spare the details because I'm not sure how many of the details are public or not, but the way that the teachers have stepped up to support those kids is absolutely amazing. And so nobody can question the heart of any of the teachers involved in that. It's just absolutely, I mean, it's just so heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. So, yeah, so a lot. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, real quick. Super moved by the Mark Smith dedication. That was awesome to be a part of that. And just like Melinda was saying, we want them to create a pipeline for teachers to come straight to Belton ISD and work for us. We want to do the same. We would like to partner with them and send them students that they can train and come back to support their community. So that was really amazing. Beautiful, beautiful ceremony and precious stories behind that ceremony. Also the groundbreakings of the new facilities that we've got coming up. Those were awesome, very inspiring, and super excited to see all of that come to fruition. Principal for a Day lunch. I got to go to that and just say a few words, and I always love that. Those parents are so excited to be there. They're always just like almost giddy, like, I got to do this, and I got to walk around and see what my kid does all the time, and spend the day in the office and ask any question I wanted to. It's a huge privilege for parents to get to do that. And I highly encourage anybody to sign up for that. And then also, and I think I've said this before, I am a literacy partner, and it has nothing to do with school board. I'm a volunteer through my church as a literacy partner at Southwest Elementary, and I absolutely love that. I love seeing my two little kiddos every Tuesday morning and going in the morning to read with them, and they've made massive progress. I don't think it's because of me. I just think they're learning so much at Southwest, and just that extra time with them, I think they appreciate it too. That's it.
Great comments. Anyone else? Okay. Well, that concludes this evening's reports. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull an item for discussion? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? Ms. McDonald, do I have a second? Mr. Norwood? All in favor, please raise your hand. That passes 6-0. At this time, are there any requests for new information or reports from the administrative team? No requests. As a reminder, I believe you have your calendar for the next month and signing up for upcoming events. Okay, moving forward to item 9, public comments regarding non-agenda items. Do we have any? None. Since there are no public comments regarding non-agenda items, we move on to item 10, closed session, Texas Government Code subchapters D and E. The time is now 7:31 p.m. and the board will now go into closed session for A, consultation with attorney, Texas Government Code section 551.071, and B, student disciplinary matter, Texas Government Code section 551.082, C, deliberations about real property, Texas Government Code section 551.072, D, personnel, Texas Government Code section 551.074, and E, personnel, employment of superintendent, Texas Government Code section 551.074. The time is 8:39 p.m., and the board will now reconvene in open session. All action items, reports, and consent items for this meeting have been addressed. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 8:39 p.m.